da solo Nedved all'interno dell'area, fa fuori tutti, Nedved, si apre la porta, Nedved, gol, da dietro, Pirlo dentro,
Good morning, Juventini. All right, welcome back to the All Juve Cast channel, of course, where it's all Juve all the time. We're going to tackle this week in news surrounding Juve, as of course it is international break. I've got Nedved with me, Omer here, and then of course this is the first AJC times Juve Canal session. So of course we have Aziz from Juve Canal, and we are going to be joined by Mo shortly. So as everybody was anticipating the show start, the guest will not be Moji, will not be Del Piero, will not be Allegri. I don't think Allegri's going to want to be around with what we've been saying lately, so I definitely don't think Allegri's going to be joining us. Marquisio, Giovinco, no.
And maybe we can get his friend, that Galeone guy who keeps talking, seems to like interviews.
Oh, yeah. If we want to hear a 1 hour rant about how he's amazing and would be performing miracles, even getting 2 wins out of 12 games is apparently performing miracles to Gagliani. But no.
You wish 12 games.
Yeah. I appreciate everybody's patience and whatnot this morning. Okay, I take full responsibility for the show being late. All right, and then we had a bit of technical difficulties, okay, as well, that I had to deal with. But we got it all sorted out. We're ready to rock, and we also have Mo tapping in. And there is Mo, and now we have it, okay? We have the Juve Canal team, we have myself and Omer, and we're ready to go. I hope everybody's fired up. Look at that nice Palace kit Mo's rocking. Mo's muted right now. We're going to unmute him and get him dialed in here. You're going to have to unmute Mo.
Hold on. Can you guys hear me properly?
Yes.
My voice clear? Okay, that's good.
Now we're rocking. And we've got a lot to tackle, everybody. Big news. There was the board meeting. Of course, Juventini were waiting patiently for Friday. Mixed reports, whether or not it was going to have anything to do with Max Allegri. Of course, it didn't. We got some news we didn't want to hear about coming out of it. Well, most didn't. Some are actually happy about the reports about Nedved, a possible resignation. We're going to get to that. But we're going to start off with the players, okay? So a lot of the news coming through this week was about players. We have Danilo, that Juventus is looking to extend and actually pushing for it quite a bit. Seems to be a priority of theirs to extend Danilo. This has a lot of Juventini upset, saying we're making the same mistake over and over and over. So we're going to start with the Danilo one. And I want to get Mo's opinion first on Danilo. Then we're going to get Aziz. And then we're going to talk to Nedved in the corner there. Okay, so Mo, your thoughts on Juventus re-signing Danilo, potentially?
Okay, before we talk about Juventus re-signing Danilo, let's talk about the day where he actually signed for Juventus. So I want to make things clear. First of all, apparently he was swapped with Cancelo. Am I right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case. I think that the Juventus sold Cancelo plus Danilo. So I don't think it was a direct swap. I think it was more of a
there was money involved. Yeah. We still got money in that deal. Yes.
I think in terms of Danilo, he's not a good player, not a bad player. He's an average player, but he's not Juve level to the point where he would play as a starter. So if he's gonna sign a contract, he would be a better substitute than Di Chilio, a better bench player than Di Chilio. But other than that, I think we should sign a place. I think he shouldn't sign a contract if he's gonna be a starter. He should extend the contract if he's going to be a bench player. If he's a starter, then I don't know what to say, honestly. I think that Juventus should fully invest in a left back and let him play as a second bench player. I wouldn't mind if he actually signs a contract extension as long as he's a bench player.
Yeah. Okay. And since this is all Juve Cast times Juve Canal, now we're going to get to Omer, then we'll get to Aziz. So Omer, your thoughts on Danilo possibly extending?
I don't hate Danilo that much. I'm fine with him. I think among the performances we're seeing in the past, I don't know, year and a half, is been one, the above average players, but that doesn't say a lot because the players that are below average are really shambolic in any way. So extending, like Mo said, the swap wasn't a straight swap. It wasn't like Danilo is worth Cancelo. He was worth Cancelo plus 20 million, I believe it was 60 total, and which is fine. It's okay. I think it's a fair valuation, and he did his part. He's still doing it. Out of all the guys, he's like sort of vice captain. He's the one who's pushing the team. He is a guy who can help youngsters develop. And when the team looks bad, everyone looks bad, no matter how good they are. So it's not his fault. We can do worse and we can do better. I'm fine with him extending for another year or two.
All right. All right. Aziz, Danilo, and your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, Danilo for another year. I think it's still too early to like decide on that. We can like delay it. So if, for example, from now until his contract is expiring, if we have a better player, like a younger player that can provide much more than he does on the field, then like his extension would be a mistake. But if we're still like struggling, or like if we have enough players and need a backup, like depending on what his salary would be, I think it can be good. But to be honest, I'm siding with not extending for him right now, because like it doesn't make sense for me. Like it's so far away to decide on that right now. So for me, it's no.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, trying to make these decisions so early on. If you look at the chat here, some of them saying, as a rotational player, obviously, but you've got some rating him very versatile, very useful player. I agree with that. I do believe he's versatile. He can be useful to the team. He should not be our starter, though, and I think that's the problem many Juventini have, is just that he's um, it's not on him that he's our starting player and that we think the quality should be higher in our starting positions. That's not a problem for the players. Like, that's not their problem. So many take that out on the players themselves. It isn't. Danilo, if we can renew, if we can bring the salary down, would have to be at a lower salary, and he becomes a very, very good bench option for us and rotational player. That's perfection for Danilo. That's exactly what Danilo should be. But outside of that and the starting level, our starters need to be. And I've been saying this for a while, though. You could see it if you watch this team. We have to bring the quality of the starting 11 higher. We still have to solidify our starting 11 and then strengthen our depth and our bench. We're still working on the starting 11. So it's still a work in progress with the team. But I think we're all in agreement, essentially. Aziz saying basically, don't make this decision now. They're pushing very, very hard. Be patient with it. Mo just saying, hey, anything but a starter and we're good. And Omer saying, yeah, he could be very, very useful. Jeremiah is he's saying he's convinced with Danilo's leadership, but not his performances. So it's a no from him on an extension at any rate. So, okay, split. We're going to be split on this one with Danilo. Quadrado, Rabio, basically, and Sandro, obviously, will be going bye-bye. That's what all signs are leading to. I think we all can say on this one that each one of those three, it's time. I don't think there's going to be any disagreement there on that one. Am I safe to say that one with everybody? Those three go? Okay, those three go. Szczesny's contract comes up at the end of next season. Szczesny they're looking at as potentially would definitely not be at his current salary, which would definitely not have to happen. But for me, even though I say wait till next year, whatever, things can change with most contract extensions, I always say just wait a little bit longer. I always felt like Juve was quick to act on those, so I wanted them to wait. With Szczesny, I actually am fine if we just let it run out. And I'm actually even okay if they do end up finding a move before his time's done. I think Perin gives us a lot in goalkeeper, and we could start looking for the future, long-term keeper. So I'm actually okay letting that contract run or actually trying to work a deal and move Szczesny on. How do you guys feel about that one? Let's start with Omer on this one. Then we're going to go to Mo and Aziz.
I'm not a huge fan of Chesney. I like Perrin a lot better. I think he has one quality, which is penalties, and the rest he's lacking. He's not a bad goalkeeper. He's just not a difference maker when he needs to be. And like Buffon did, we had so many bad games with Buffon saving us and basically earning us the win. Not Chesney is just not the type. I see Perrine out there, shouting, turning towards the crowd, firing them up. That's the kind of energy I like, and I think that Juve needs. So I'm fine. Just move on from Chesney, keep Perrine for all I care, and start worrying about the future. And that Buffon recommending Mike Manyan when he came back from PSG kind of pinched my heart that they listened to him on Rabiot but not on Manyan.
All right. Yeah, that was a funny little report, eh? So we listened to apparently the best goalkeeper ever on his recommendation for a midfielder, and then we didn't take his recommendation for an actual goalkeeper. That sounds just about right, doesn't it? Aziz is already laughing about that one when you're thinking about it. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Mo, Szczesny. Szczesny and an extension.
I mean, I don't have much to say because Omar, like, I agree with most of what Omar said. He already took my points. I feel like, but in my opinion, I don't think Chesney should extend at all, even though goalkeepers aren't our main issue right now. I feel like in terms of performance, Perrin has been doing much better. He like beats Chesney's in all qualities except penalties. I think that's the only thing which Chesney is like the most talented on. So like I don't think Chesney should extend his contract, or at least if he does, he should be a bench player. Like Perrin should start over him.
Yeah, absolutely. Aziz, are you in agreement with everybody?
Yes, I think for me, I would like Perrin to be the starter right now, but I know Allegri, like after the break, he will play Chesney for sure, knowing him so well, he will do that. But for now, like based on form, based on like everything this season, I think Perrin should like be the starter. But I feel like both of them, Chesney and Perrin, they both like lack something. Like I think it's a bit unfair because we're used to Buffon and like his leadership and everything, and I think we miss that a lot, especially how like he's like always so vocal on the pitch, like he makes the players always aware, always he reminds them to stay focused. Like if you remember in his last season with Pirlo, like there was that scene with Portanova, like when he was screaming at him and everything, and he got fined for that. But yeah, I think we should like just keep Perrin, and then if there is an opportunity to get a goalkeeper with something more, especially like the leadership side of things, I think that would make perfect sense.
There
And
you
by the
go.
way, hi Lex.
Oh yeah, Lex dropping in saying ciao to Mo and Aziz. Unfortunately, and of course, Al, Omar, us as well. hopefully she could make it to one of these all Juve Cast, Juve Canal shows. Unfortunately, she has not changed her Twitter handle yet, and it can no longer be at Dybalexa. So until she does that, I don't know if you two are going to talk to her live on a show or not. So she knows what she's got to do. We're just putting the pressure on her to change that. It's hilarious. Very, very funny. No, Lex will be around. Hopefully we'll get her on to one of these shows sometime. Now, guys, this is the big one, okay? This was the big one that had everybody fired up, especially on the daily update video when I said we were facing the potential of Pavel Nedved resigning from his position. And basically the reports coming out of this meeting yesterday, obviously we know about the financials and everything like that, which probably play a part, which make it why the current report is that Pavel Nedved is alone in wanting to change from Max Allegri. He wanted the change obviously in 2019. Okay, so he spearheaded this whole change and everything. Obviously, we know from there where it went. Paratici was not doing a good job in terms of team building. He looked more for flash signings and whatnot. Nedved takes heat for that, even though it's not really his thing, but he was associated with that Paratici thing and whatnot. But Nedved just wanted a move to the style, the approach, everything else and whatnot. Regardless, he spearheaded that in 2019. I was critical of Agnelli when he brought Max back because I said, how can you keep Nedved around if you're going to do this? You're essentially saying, hey, I don't trust you and I don't believe in some of the calls you're making and whatnot. So I found it very, very awkward, an awkward scenario we created ourselves. Now you're seeing it spilling over, complete boiling point, and a lot of just tension between all of them. Pavel Nedved might resign. Now we're going to get to our thoughts on the board thing, how he could be the only one that wants change is strictly financial and looking at from all of these aspects. On this one, we're going to actually start with Aziz this time, and then we'll come to my own thoughts, and then we'll go to Mo and Omer. So Aziz, kick us off on the potential of Nedved resigning from the board and your thoughts on this whole scenario.
Like for me, when you look at Nedved and Agnelli, so you have like two different sides. So if like you put yourself in Nedved's place, probably your first thought when looking at the situation would be, no, like Juve is doing bad, we need to do something. Like I can't watch my team play like that. I can't stand them performing like that. And then there is Agnelli and Arrivabene who like their first thought is we are in trouble, but it's too expensive. So we have like that logical business thought and thinking, and then there is like that Nedved who acts upon like his love for the club and his passion. So for me, Nedved resigning would be like just another sign, like, and another thing that he deserves respect for me, that because it will prove that he really cares about the club, despite we already know that. But yeah, on the other points with the resigning, like with bringing back Allegri and everything, I think it was like it Nedved was a bit under pressure because like he contributed to Max leaving at first, and then with Agnelli bringing him back, he was he preferred to not say anything because he felt a bit responsible maybe for the situation and finishing fourth and everything. But when you look at it, I think that since Morata left, we've been like a complete mess and everything, with like the stadium, the transfers, the finances, like literally everything. So for me, Nedved is the last person to blame because he has the least responsibilities. Like he has no really defined role. I think he's just more like a face of the club. So if you're gonna make any changes, it should be first Agnelli, Arrivabene, like people with defined
Yeah.
responsibilities, because you can have data that backstab that decision. But yeah, I think Nedved non si toca. I'm gonna launch that hashtag. We need him to stay.
There you go. There you go. So a lot of good points there from Aziz, whatnot. I'm gonna kick this one off for Nedved and myself. I know Omar and I had a big discussion in the green room prior to getting things set up here, just about the whole thing. And for Nedved, if you look at this here in the comments, we've got a lot coming in just saying he's the only one that seems to care. Beto saying he doesn't deserve this. He could be better off with the Czech national side. He has a position waiting with the Czech national football side and whatnot. So we see what happens here. But for me, when you look at Nedved and whatnot, I think it's a good idea to have guys that, know what it takes to win. Not only does he know what it takes to win, he's a Ballon d'Or winner and everything like that. He, for me, seems as he is a fan of Juve. It would be the same as watching Marquisio be associated with this team. And you could see it in Marquisio's words in his interviews. These guys, I'd be hard pressed to find current players outside of maybe two that would say the things about Juve and speak so highly about Juve and feel that way about Juve. I think it's a thing of old almost. And it's not to say that that's a fault in the players. It's a fault in the current club because they are not creating this culture. Okay. So these previous guys, your Nedved, any of these guys, Marquisio, your Del Pieros, like all these other guys, your Monteros and whatnot, they came through when culture was massive at Juventus. Somewhere along the way, we have started to put our focus on chasing these giants to be giants and on this level playing field or whatnot. But in doing so, we lost what made Juventus Juventus. We lost ourselves in this chase, this global marketing chase that has been such a high focus around this club. We lost everything that made us special, that made us Juventus. And it's been a slow fade in identity and whatnot that's just been shifted. And that's not a Nedved thing. And right now, I think you have too many people at the club involved that are thinking and looking at this and making decisions solely based on money. Okay. And it's obviously it's a business now. Football is a business. You can't lose sight of that. However, it's bad business when you have shit results. That's bad business. I can't see any way you can see what's going on at Juve from the outside in. You don't have to be a diehard like all of us to see it, okay? Neutrals, my friends that tune into a Juve game once in a blue moon can all see it. What's going on? Stadium's dead. Like there's nobody there. Like, oh, and they just played awful this game. No, they're playing awful every game. Every game is awful, okay? We've had like a couple decent halves of football. Has to change. How on earth can you market something that just isn't marketable? Right now, where we are, this is like the worst time to focus on just that. So I think everybody else in the board is thinking solely about the financials of Max Allegri going and not wanting to do that because of that record deficit of 200 and what was it, Aziz? 254.3, I believe you said. So
Yes, exactly.
254.3. Here's the thing. Boards on big companies, conglomerates, all this, they should be doing risk assessment. Okay. Risk assessment is a major part of big companies. So I get it. You're going to have to spend somewhere around 50 million euros. It's going to cost you to get rid of Max Allegri. But for God's sakes, what is the risk assessment on keeping him around? Because if we get bounced out of the Champions League group stages, you've just lost revenue on another match. In the knockout stages, you've lost on the revenue of moving them forward. If we don't make it to Champions League next season, you give up a lot in terms of revenue and the tournament prize money. If you don't do it and we continue to skid, if he has in fact lost the dressing room, now you're running the risk of losing assets. Vlahovic may not stay. Some of these top players may want to move on because you run the risk. We saw De Ligt want to run out the first chance he gets. So my concern is if you risk assess this against all other facets, you can lose a hell of a lot more. So obviously Vlahovic is our property. We would still have to pay out the rest of that deal and then sell him. But you lose all leverage because everybody knows the position you're in as second players want to leave, and you lose that leverage. So for me, if you're risk assessing this whole thing, it's shocking to me that Nedved was labeled as the only one that wants to move away from Allegri. So for me, they either have people that are just not doing their job in terms of risk assessment, and how can you even do this? Not only that, but they're not looking at the whole big scheme of things. 2 wins out of 12 or 13 running games going into last season is simply not good enough. And it's not a level Juventus should ever carry. If we were truly a big club and we were truly ambitious, there's no way Max would still have a job, financial or not. You act accordingly. So for me, this money thing, man, the money thing got us into this mess, and now it's leaving us stuck in it. They're gonna have to bite the bullet, in my opinion. But Nedved, a guy like that, we should want him around at the club. He was right in 2019, and right now I feel like Agnelli is not willing to let his ego go and admit wrongdoing, and I'm not so sure that's good for us long term. Mo. Sorry, everybody, it took a little longer, but I get fired up about this whole Nedved thing. So, Mo, your stance on this whole thing.
It's a bit funny how, like, when we're talking about Nedved's situation, we straight jump into Allegri as well. Because, like, I think a couple of days ago, the Juventus management held a meeting. And as we all know, like, Nedved wanted to sack Allegri, and he even pressured to sack Allegri even before the Monza game. But Arrivabene and Agnelli disagreed with that. Like, if I'm gonna be honest, like, okay, I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna make a confession. Okay, I was pro Allegri in the beginning, and Aziz knows, and Aziz hates me for it. Okay, and he bugs me about it every day. Like, I'm seeing the results that have been going on, especially since the beginning of the season. The records that we're breaking, and they're not even good records. They're horrible records. You know, like, I think this is the first time in Juventus history that they lost 2 Champions League games in a row. Okay, that's one of the records that Allegri broke. But basically, basically Nedved, he's the only. I feel like when he's managing the club, as he said, or was it Alberto? I'm not sure. He thinks of more like a fan instead of like a businessman. And like, ever since 2019, he was right. But Agnelli isn't getting rid of his ego and sacking him. And the perfect decision to do right now is to sack Allegri, because it's so clear. Like even a person who doesn't even watch football is gonna see the shit situation that Juventus are in. And Nedved shouldn't, like, even though I don't know what, like, I know that Nedved's the vice president, but I don't really know what his job is specifically. I feel like out of everyone in the management, even though the management should change, but I feel like out of everyone in the management, he's the only one who is desiring to make a change. You know, like, he's the only one that knows the club is in turmoil and wants to make a huge change in it, even if it comes with a great cost.
Yeah, it's a strange, tough decision. I mean, you say, the right decision right now is to move on from Allegri. I agree with you. I think when we start to look at potential candidates to come over, there's question marks everywhere. But the feeling with me is so strong that we cannot continue down the path we're at. You have to take a chance. Even though we can all agree, I think, that there's question marks on all the replacements. And we're going to have some fun with the potential replacements in a minute here. But let's get to Omer here and his take on the whole thing and the potential of Nedved resigning and how he sees this whole board meeting thing. Omer, go ahead.
I've been angry for like 3 days straight for that on that Nedved news. I mean, way to suck up the last bit of soul left at Juve. Like I look at what the management has done and all this brand exposure that obviously didn't work, and it doesn't make us any more money. Juve are losing followers left, right, and center. You can look at the preparation we had for this season, the preseason, all this American tour that got us 3 games, which were horrible, 4 games, not enough training, too much traveling just to expand the brand. And then we get to the start of the season and no one is ready. Who are the 3 players that look on the pitch like they can maintain their performances for 90 minutes? It's Kostic, it's Milik, and it's Paredes. 3 guys who didn't have their preseason with Juve. The rest look awful, and that's all part of the brand exposure and stuff. Now the management looks on the field, they see numbers, they see salaries, they see market values, they see price tags. Nedved sees players. Nedved interacted with players. He's been through a banter era. He knows what it's like to be down on your luck and everything going against you and still fight it out to make it better. No one else knows. Agnelli was there for like 1 season as a chairman, and that's it. And that's the type of spirit we need. We as fans, he is also a fan. He looks at the board, he looks at the game, and he doesn't like what he sees. And he's not wrong. It's horrible. Does anyone enjoy Juve at the moment? So we always talk about the money and saving this salary here and that salary there and blah, blah, blah. This is not what makes you money to move forward. Champions League qualification makes you money. Titles win you money. Full stadium wins you money. We have none of these right now, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. And I can't even blame the players for it. Definitely not Nedved. So Nedved has to stay, and it's a very Nedved thing. Like, he endured. He wanted a change. He got it back in 2019. They brought back Allegri, which he was against, but he still endured the last season. And like every fan would say, if you're not even trying to move away from what we're seeing right now, then I can't be here. I can't watch Juve this way, so I'm resigning. And I can see why he thinks that way. And whether this report is credible or not is a different argument. But I wouldn't be shocked if he left, and that would be like the end of Europe for a long time.
Yeah. Very, very well put, Omar. You're getting everything from Swarit here, Vito, all in agreement. I think everybody's kind of hit the nail on the head there, that if you look at this, in fact, Nedved's not really the problem, okay? He's got eyes on solution and whatnot and where we need to move to. He's the wrong person to shoulder the blame for what's been going on, in my personal opinion. I don't know. Del Piero. People want Del Piero to come back and be a part of the club. Of course they do. He's our bandiera. He's the guy. Del Piero, Juve, that association will always be strong. For me, I fear that possibility. Why do I fear that possibility? Because of how so quickly we can turn on legends and what they did for us and whatnot. So I don't know. I almost want Del Piero to just do his thing. He's going through the pro UEFA coaching course with Barzagli now. You know what, man? Do your thing. It's one of the issues I had with them wanting to bring in Montero. Like, just being an interim, a possibility if they were to move away. It's being reported that Montero. This feels like Pirlo 2.0, because when Pirlo was brought in, I said, this is not right. Juve should never be at a point where we're the first coaching job a guy has, because he didn't even start with the U23s. Juventus should never be in that position. So I thought it was wrong to do that to Pirlo. In terms of Pirlo himself, he actually did well considering. But, Montero, whatever, I want to ask all you guys here today. If you could handpick a coach, if we were to pull the trigger, say, and make that coaching change right now, you could pull the trigger on any coach, okay? Who do you think is the right choice to steer the ship in the right direction at Juventus? Aziz, you're up first. You could handpick any coach for Juve in the state they're in right now.
Yeah, I think many would expect me to pick Klopp, Guardiola, but I think I'm gonna stick with Juric for my candidate for the position. Juric, he did a great job with Verona. He did a great job with Torino. I think he's really, really good, and he's very underrated. Like the way he sets up his plays, like the physical preparation, the tactics, like the flexibility. Like everyone gives their best under him. Like Bremer last year, he was the best defender in Serie A. So he's not just good at the offensive phase, but he also proved that he can work with defenders to improve them and make them better. And he's got plenty of Serie A experience. His only weakness might be the lack of European experience, but I think for me, I'm not a big believer of experience. I think most people overrate experience. It's important, but it's not that important if you have if you're smart, if you're talented, if you know what you're doing. Experience can hurt you very little. So for me, I would go with Juric or Pirlo back. But yeah,
Oh,
seriously,
man,
Juric.
Aziz, you almost had it, my man. You almost had it, my man. I was going to say Omar. I was going to say these guys are going to fit in fantastically because Joe Cappuccino was waiting for him to say Pirlo, and I was like, watch Aziz not say Pirlo to prove Joe Cappuccino wrong. And he would have fit in perfectly, but you threw it in there. Damn it. I hate it when Joe's right about something.
I had to throw it.
No, that's good. So Juric is another one there. Look at Joe Cappuccino going, get out of here, Joe. Get out of here. Come on. Okay, Conte. We got some Conte shouts, obviously, with the history and whatnot. I'm going to be quite honest. I'm starting to just be completely deterred at version 2.0s, to be 100% honest. But I do think it would have to be someone along those lines that is more selling a mentality and a frame of mind more so than on the pitch. Because if you look at Conte, he's very straightforward on the pitch. It works. It's good. He knows what he needs his guys to do in each role and position, but it's very, very simplistic, which isn't a bad thing. But he sells more of the rah, the frame of mind, the mentality, and the grinta and whatnot. That's what he sells more. I do think it's time to kind of get back to those roots. But right now, version 2.0s, I don't know. But Conte, is there anybody on here that would choose Conte? Let's ask that. Okay, so we're going to go next to Omar there. And Omar, let's have the Conte discussion.
Conte, hands down, no argument. I think he proved so far that every team he manages, he gets them to pull above the weight. Tottenham were ninth last season when he joined, and he got them into the Champions League, which is basically a miracle in the Premier League. And he won the PL with Moses and Marcos Alonso as wingbacks. He started dynasty at Juve. He knows how to get the most out of his player and then some. And that's what we need right now. We don't have spirit. We have mediocre players who are not pulling above the weight. I want to say Pep, Jurgen Klopp, but this is not the type of teams they are used to managing and getting the most out of. Like, this would be more a bet to me than choosing Conte. The guy, no one wants to play a Conte team, and right now everyone wants to play against Juve. Just weak-minded. Conte would not have lost to Monza no matter what players you give him, and especially not to a rookie coach who has his first official match as a senior coach. So Conte for me, because we just need a swift change in mentality. He doesn't have much injuries. His players are always on top form. He leaves the game. He stands on the sidelines all game long, runs. Yet he doesn't let the players lose focus. He's the one keeping them in focus, not the leaders on the field. That's what Juve needs right now, and I'm willing to push everything aside, the Inter tenure, then the fights with Agnelli and stuff. Push all that aside. I care about Juve. I want Juve to be feared again. And Conte seems like the only one who can do it right now, considering our current situation.
Yeah. I'd take it back. I mean, I'd support him if he came back. I don't know. Have we ever seen him do it on a version 2.0 at a club? His instant stimulus is
Yep.
no doubt. Juve's got a bit of a different story because of obviously his history with us as a player and whatnot. So it's interesting. He, again, like I said, if it wasn't him, I do believe it's got to be someone along those lines. We'll see. Mo, who would be your choice?
I mean, the most realistic option, as Omar said, is Conte, since he's a good motivator. He would raise the player spirits, and I don't think he ever failed to make a team successful. But if I had to choose a manager, I would choose Ancelotti. I listed the reasons why. The first reason is Agnelli has a fetish for Italian managers, so Ancelotti would be a perfect fit. He also has Serie A experience. He coached a couple of Serie A clubs. Also, the players, the current Juventus players we have, they fit for his style, and he can revolutionize from the boring defensive style we have. He also has Champions League experience. He has won the US Champions League multiple times. As you can see, like how we transformed Milan and how we're transforming Real Madrid right now. Like, they're almost invincible. Yeah, but any manager but Pirlo, generally. Sorry, Aziz. Yeah, that's
But
it.
I do want to say that Pirlo did a better job than Allegri is doing right now with a
I mean,
worse team.
yeah, but let's not open up that discussion
But
because
but
I'm
no
not in the
but
mood for
no,
it.
I don't want him back. But I enjoyed Juve more with him, I gotta say. And Ancelotti said he's going to retire after that Real Madrid tenure. Unfortunately, I would have loved him.
Unfortunately.
I think he's a brilliant coach.
Yeah, it would be perfect for
I
Juventus.
think
We should have.
I think no.
We should have.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Aziz.
Yeah, go ahead, Aziz.
No, I think like Ancelotti would be a very bad pick. Like I think like he's a coach that is similar to Allegri, but who is better, of course. Anyone is better than Allegri, but I mean he's the type of coach to like give autonomy to his players and like work more on that psychology side, which is not what we need right now. So yeah, I think Ancelotti would be a bad fit right now because we need someone to like give players instructions and build from the scratch. And for me, he's not that type of coach. That's not what he does best.
You know,
Yeah.
Aziz makes a great point, and right now he'd be a bad fit. But back then, I think when we sacked Sarri, Ancelotti would have been perfect if he joined. I think he was managing Everton that time. Like, we could have easily snatched him, but I don't know why we didn't. Instead, we went for Pirlo.
Yeah. It's there's a funny thing too about this whole thing, but right now I agree, not the right time. Not the right time. In terms of where Juve's at, I would say not the right time. Something Aziz touched on too was interesting. How he doesn't care so much about the experience and the list that they're experience is always one of those funny things. People can get hit for not having that experience. Yet, how the hell are you going to get that experience if you're not put in the positions to gain it? Right. So it's one of those funny things when it comes down to experience. I mean, if you look
Yeah.
across at some of the coaches and whatnot, somewhere along the line, they had to gain that experience somewhere and pull through. So it's always one of those funny things. Well, he doesn't have the experience
I
here,
agree.
whatnot. Well, you got to get it somehow.
I agree with Aziz. That when Mourinho won the Champions League with Porto, he had no experience. Guardiola with Barca, and many more examples. Conte coached Atalanta and Bari before he started the dynasty with Juve. And experience is overrated for managers. For
Exactly.
players,
I mean, you have to
story.
gain it. You have to gain it somehow. So someone's going to
But
have to give those shots. So
I
I
feel
agree.
like
And it's something that's interesting how it always comes up. And it can be what many, shoot down certain options. But at the end of the day, and I mean, Mo doesn't want to have this discussion, but at the end of the day, Pirlo with no experience had the team doing more than Allegri has in his return, and he made about 8 or 9 million less, pretty much 1 million, I think. But hey, that's a discussion for another time. That's a discussion for another time.
Because if I start it, I won't shut up. So, but
we'll leave that for another time, or the
I just
green
want to
room,
add.
and maybe we'll start recording the green rooms for everybody.
Sorry if
Storm
it's
the
okay.
barn, everybody.
I just want to add a comment on Conte. It's okay. I feel like also Conte has a disadvantage when it comes to European competitions. Like in league games, generally, I mean, he's amazing, but I don't think he's ever been successful in European competitions.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mo, because I actually put a tweet about this, and I said, Juve, many Juventini saying no for a Conte return because of Europe. We just lost to Monza, bro. We can't think and talk about Europe. We just lost to Monza. Let's get back on track domestically in Italy, and then we'll worry about that.
I feel like European competitions aren't our priority right now.
Yeah, and Ancelotti is the flip side of it. Ancelotti is a great tournament manager. As a league manager, he didn't have that much success with his clubs, but at tournament level, he's awesome. I would have liked to see him with Italy, actually.
Yeah. Now, coach thing, whatever. It's always interesting to hear perspectives of what kind of change if they were to make one. Sadly, I don't think something's going to happen, but we're given predictions of what percentage we think he's going to be with us, like beyond World Cup. What percentage think Allegri's going to finish the year off or whatnot. And I don't know. I was 50% that he would actually, I said 100% he doesn't make the end of this season. I stand behind it. I seriously don't think he makes the end of the season as coach. I hope I'm wrong, though, because that would mean catastrophic results for Juventus. So I hope I'm wrong on that one. Storm the barn, everybody. Get your questions in right now for the panel. Okay, we have one from before, and I have one that's actually coming from Twitter in anticipation of this show, and we're going to tackle this one. It's an interesting one when you start to think about it, dissect it all and everything. But would Juventus have been in a better state if we had just committed to Max back in 2018-19 when he left the first time? Would we be in a better state overall and currently right now? And before this panel starts to tackle this, I want to remind you all, if you could please hit that thumbs up button. Okay, while you're here, let's get maximum amount of likes on here. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. All right. And who wants to kick this one off for us? Would we be in a better state? So, Omer, fire away, my friend.
I don't think so, because we kind of saw what we see from Allegri right now before the end of his tenure. Like after that Cardiff match, something has changed, and football has kind of moved on to different type of game. And Allegri wasn't good enough back then in his final season, but the league was in shambles, so we kind of won it easily. And I don't know, he was really reliant on his leaders. Even back at Milan, he had a great season where he won the Champions League, the Scudetto, and then the season after, all of the leaders left: Ambrosini, Gattuso, Nesta, Inzaghi, Pirlo, everyone, and it kind of tumbled down. And the same goes for Juve. The minute Buffon left, Chiellini might have stayed a bit longer, but he lost what he had going for him, and he wasn't ready for what he needed to deal with, and we're seeing it now. The lack of leadership from him for the team, who lacks leaders, is apparent. I don't think he would have done any better. We would have seen the same type of football we got used to seeing from him, with not so not so good players as he once had.
Yeah. Mo and Aziz, which one of you wants to start off on? Do you believe we would have been in a better state if we committed to him?
Absolutely not. Like I think in that last season, I remember very well Ronaldo almost crying because of how Allegri was playing, especially that was that game against Napoli, and when he was begging him, please, please attack some more. But yeah, I think after that Cardiff season, as Omer said, like he changed Allegri, and we started playing defensively so much, like so unnecessarily too much, and it was more about the mentality of the coach rather than about the squad for me. Like even if we renewed the squad, if we sold some players and got some new other ones, I think he would have like stuck to his tactics, to his same mentality as we see now. And in addition to that, I think that if we did rebuild the squad back then, we would have like went for young players. And Allegri right now is proving that he's not good at all at dealing with young players and improving them. So I think would be like in a similar situation, we would probably have like won even like less trophies, and yeah, he would have been sacked, and you would have hired Pirlo again to save us.
All right. All right. So there's a couple no's right out of the gate. Mo, do you think we would have been
I
in a
don't know.
better state?
I don't know. Like this, I think this is a huge debate. Like so many people agree and so many people disagree. But unfortunately, I'll have to agree with Aziz and Omar. I don't think. I don't think he would have been better. Like
I
I don't
like
think the
how Mo
situation.
said he unfortunately has to agree with you, Aziz.
Like I don't think the situation has to be better. I don't think the situation would have been better even if he remained, because we had better players before. I mean, as much as whether people like it or not, we had Cristiano Ronaldo before, and we've seen how Allegri performed with these players. Like after Cardiff, the players' performance started getting worse and worse. So I think that in 2020 Pirlo season, that was when our squad was at an all-time low. Like player-wise, I think if Allegri managed that, we'd have probably been relegated or something.
Whoa. All right. All right. Yeah. You know what? I thought about this one long and hard. Maybe, just maybe, he can hang on to some type of identity for a little bit longer, whatnot. But Omar kind of hit it with, the leaders and whatnot issuing out. I think one of the current problems I think we can all agree on is that we never really made that transition. I mean, it's 2022. We're still relying on Bonucci and whatnot. So it's like we just haven't place those next pieces in. And when you look at some of those big clubs around, they don't make that mistake. They know when it's time to bring in the next wave. And more often than not, they're hitting. Juve had, if you look at us, just look at us defensively. There was the opportunity for who? Romero, Demiral. I'm missing another name as well at center back that we potentially had all these guys. We finish up again going with Bonucci, relying on Bonucci in a season where this one should be like Chiellini's last. Use sparingly and kind of just ushering him out the door or whatnot. And here we are going to be dependent on him. And it's a mistake from management. Would Allegri have done better through the transitional periods and everything like that? If you're looking at him now and you're thinking about the way he talks and everything, and those fears came up with that team in 2019, our play was already starting to suffer tremendously. Now with him openly saying, and he was saying it back then, that in the final 30 yards of the pitch, the players do what they got to do to find goals, to do everything. For me, it's just not really good enough. And you don't want to hear, it's not, confidence. It's not confidence instilling when your coach basically saying, he says, go out and play. This year, he's saying technically the same thing. So I don't necessarily know if we would be in a better spot when we speculate this. I think, no, we wouldn't be in a better spot. I think the mistakes and everything that were made were far beyond that. And I don't think Max is the guy to pull us through it. I think what we're finding out is the opposite of what we believed in Max. We believed Max was a guy that was overachieving with the players he had, and he finds ways to wins no matter what his roster is. I think it's the actual opposite. I think we're finding out that those players deserve a hell of a lot more credit than any of the fan base actually gave them. I think it's the opposite. And I think now we might be seeing Max's shortcomings as a manager, and that maybe he's not the guy we thought he was, because we had many beliefs about that team in general. And when Ronaldo came in, he was supposed to be this last cherry on top. Now we could really make a run. But then we started to see, well, this team isn't where they were. And I don't know, like Max kind of lost his ways and stuff too. So there's a lot to dissect. It's a big one, but I think we're all in agreement that it wouldn't be any better if Max was around. It still was starting to take that turn in his year under his tutelage, and I don't know if he would have turned it around. It's a tough one to think about, tough one to break down and see. We've got Storm the Barn questions in. We're going to get to the first one. I saved it. So just in case Michael Rasso thought I left him high and dry, I did not. Let's see what he's got. Doesn't it feel Juve care more about the brand and less about the football? This weekend, Juve hosted a gala, and I think we'll be focusing on playing better. Thoughts? Well, we got into that when we were talking about this board and their feelings and thoughts in general. I think for sure there's a major focus on the marketing and the financials. However, I don't know. Does it feel one-sided to any of you that it's more focused on business than it is everything else right now?
Obviously.
Yeah.
The marketing Juventus are doing is insane. And even
I
though
tell you what, we lost to Monza. The next morning, I woke up to an email about 15% off on their friggin' website. I'm like, read the room. Read the room. They have no shame.
Juve,
not now.
No shame.
Okay, not now. I could have chucked my phone across the house. I was so pissed off at seeing this. I'm like, hey, how about an emailed apology for having to put my eyes through that? But yeah, you're right. Also, continue on, Mo.
There's also something else. Like every time we lose the Champions League game, Juventus has to come up with a hashtag. Even though like we perform like pure shit, that like bring in this catchy.
It's time to be proud.
Hashtag. Yeah, like these show that they care more about the brand than football. Like, bro, we lost against Lyon, we lost against Porto. Why the fuck are you bringing like it's time to be proud hashtag?
Yeah. I don't know. They seem off point and off key, and I don't know if Max runs the admin as well, because sometimes it feels like they're reading the room about as good as him and his tone deaf stuff. Omer, your thoughts on Michael's question here?
I've said it before. I think they lost track of what expands the brand. Like they're looking for more fans from China, the US, and these aren't the guys who are filling the stadiums. They look for selling merchandise, which doesn't make as much money as we think it does, because there's percentages going to Adidas and all this stuff, and this is not what expense. Like Real Madrid doesn't base their finances on expanding the brand. Okay, I'm leaving PL clubs aside because their money comes from God knows where. So you want to expand the brand? Look at Milan's brand. It's sticking. It's working perfectly. Every player they bring in is a jackpot. that's what Juve should aim for, just to stop expanding the brand, start expanding the team, the overall play, the attraction for fans to watch the game and come to the stadium, fly from overseas to watch the games. Like, if you think about going to a Juve game right now and you don't live in Italy or in Europe with just, like a 2-hour flight or something, will you do it? Will any of you fly to a game?
I said that for me, it costs a lot of money because I'm on the west coast of Canada and whatnot. I'm probably not putting that money into it right now, to be honest.
I mean,
No.
I would, because
Imagine flying from Canada and watching that Monza game.
I would have lost my mind. I would have lost my mind.
I would have invaded the pitch and beat Allegri's ass or something.
Yeah.
No, but I think generally I would probably, like, that's just my personal opinion. I would watch any UV game because I don't usually go to Europe. So if I do, then I would take the chance, even if we're fucking up.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough call, but yeah, Omer's kind of on the right point, and there are many. And I said this on a show a couple of weeks back. I was talking to people; they were DMing me, and we were chatting. I said, "Hey, you're in Italy right now. You're gonna go check out Juve, whatnot?" And he goes, "Honestly, my trip's been so good, I can't be bothered." He says, "I gotta drive whatever many hours. I have to pay accommodations. I have to pay for the ticket. If I'm just that frustrated," and he goes, "I'd rather just keep enjoying my trip and making it as awesome as possible and spend the time with the family members and stuff." And I said, "Hey, man, I get it. I get it." That said, if I were there, I probably still would put myself through it. It's just the atmosphere. It needs big boost. This is why Agnelli for me is causing more detriment to the financials. So it's hard to keep hearing about these financials. And this is why we have to stick with Max and all this and whatnot, when in the same regard, you are shutting down your finances because your atmosphere is awful. You've purposely left out all the ultras for the mistakes of a few and all this. I mean, it's a monster he created right now, and it's hurting the financials. So then you're telling us we need to stick with something that's not working because of the financials, but you are also causing damage to those finances yourselves. It's a tough pill to swallow for Juventini, and I think they have a right to be pissed off and even maybe be thinking about Agnelli needing to maybe move over. For me, if he stays, stick to the business. That's fine. Let someone else come in and run the footballing aspects. And that goes with everything. You can't have visiting fans come in to your stadium, okay, and basically rule you guys out of the match completely. You can't have these fans coming into our stadium, Salernitana fans coming in with flares, flags, banners, and put to a little sliver of that stadium just washes out the entire Juve fan base. Can't happen.
And you know what I found funny was when Giuseppe from G Just Juve went to the stadium and celebrated a goal against Spezia like it was a Champions League goal, and people gave him shit for that. Like, we can't complain that the fans aren't coming to the stadium, aren't singing, aren't doing anything, and when suddenly someone does it, he becomes a joke to a lot of fans. And that's the type of mentality the club has brought us, the management has brought us fans to expect. Like, celebrating a goal in the stadium is laughable, basically.
Yeah, the whole thing's bizarre. How would you guys feel if we lose both to Bologna and Maccabi? I'd be depressed, is how I feel. I mean, if change didn't happen after that, if we don't pull, those are both must wins. Okay, Maccabi and Bologna, both must wins. Omer, you're going to that Champions League game, are you not?
I am.
There you go. So
Yeah.
Omer's going to be there. My God, man, I'll be praying you get a good show from Juve.
I seriously doubt it.
And that team's no joke, you were saying.
Look, first of all, Maccabi Haifa sold out their entire stadium. We got like some sort of fine from UEFA, which were 1,000 fans less. And Maccabi Haifa's ultras are massive. Like you're going to see a show. If you watch that PSG match, they put on a show. They drive the team. They follow them everywhere, and they're not an easy team to beat. They have a brilliant coach, and we'll recap it before the game. I hope I can make it to help do that. But they're not an easy team to beat. Don't underestimate them. They're not a bad team. And the way you look right now, Maccabi Haifa are much better than Monza and Salernitana. So I'm not confident at all.
Yeah.
Can I say my piece?
Yes.
Sorry, I know. I just anyway. I mean, I've come to a conclusion after the Benfica match that it's just a football game. Shouldn't react. It's time. I'm gonna be numb. However, the game against Bologna, I won't be surprised if we lose. But against the Zionist entity, honestly, I wouldn't be very happy because, I mean, even though their form is good, they're still not as powerful as Benfica and PSG are. So if we lose, then Allegri has no excuses anymore. He should definitely leave.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
Aziz, Bologna, Maccabi, they must be win.
Yeah, we saw Allegri who he said PSG conceded to Maccabi, and then Neymar and Mbappe and Messi scored and returned them to the game. So he already has his excuse that we are missing Chiesa and Di Maria and Pogba and Messi and Ronaldo and Ibrahimovic. So I think it's a must win. Will we win? I'm not confident. I can't be confident right now. I guess the silver lining would be that the chances of Allegri going would increase, but of course, Juve losing is always very depressing. But yeah, I will just be holding to that silver lining of hopefully Allegri will go soon if we do lose. But hopefully we will get the win.
Yeah,
I mean,
these
there are
both have
advantages
to be
to
victories, so
there are
we
advantages
got to
to
get
winning and
that one
losing.
going. So
There,
we got one more storm the barn, which is there any truth to Arsenal Moretti links? Well, these guys run Juve Canal, very, very much in tune with the news and whatnot. Just garbage links or what?
I mean, just it's nothing. The source is weak. I think it was the Daily Sun or Mirror, something like
yeah,
that.
it was the Sun.
Okay, so a couple of
Yeah,
garbage.
I mean,
nothing.
they're both English sources. I don't think we've had any Italian sources yet.
Plus Arsenal,
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, come on.
Yeah, the media is bored at the moment, so any story won't gain steam.
In an international week, usually these transfer rumors come out, and majority of them are fake.
Yeah, absolutely. International breaks, you always hear some oddball stuff. Right now, when it comes to Juventus too, I've just been telling people even at the best of times, you take everything with a grain of salt. Right now, when we're in this moment, in this position, everybody's going to want to jump on headlines involving Juventus in any way, shape, or form, because it's like Juve always gets the clicks, gets the bait, all this stuff at the best of times. When we're in complete chaos like this, it's even easier clickbait for everybody to just post stuff and get clicks, likes, all this. So just take everything with a grain of salt and we see what happens. Michael Razzo's got one more he wants to throw in there. Do you think the no banners and lack of support in the stadium have an impact on this team? Depressing to see no banners and no cheer. I think 100% it does. And we've even seen players speak out about it. I think, 2 seasons ago, Pirlo's season, you heard players start to talk about it. And even prior to that, there's no question that it affects the team. How many times did we see Buffon react and turn to the Curva and ask for more support or tell them to get going or whatnot? And he would always talk to them during the match. The ball would go out of play or somewhere. He would turn, he would talk to them, and he would urge them on to try and get them to pull this team through. There's no question for me, it has an impact on the team. This team has been playing all matches, away matches. It has an impact. Do you guys all agree? Where do you guys stand on the impact of taking that support away from your home fans? Let's get with Aziz on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like when you mentioned before with giving the away fans the right to bring their own banners, to their own fireworks, but not like the Juve fans. It's very, very weird. And like it's even there is no connection between the team and the fans, and you can see it now. Like when they cheer, it's either whistling or like they scream for the Juve at first, and then it's pretty dead for 90 minutes. There is no like there is like that factor of what we usually call the 12th player, the fans. Now we don't have it, and we need it the most right now. So obviously, yeah, it has a big impact on the team for me. And yeah, hopefully something will be done about it soon, because it's really depressing seeing the stadium like that. It used to be really like beautiful to look at, like enjoyable, attracting, even to attract like new fans and everything. Now it's like it's a theater, not a stadium.
Yeah, it's a ghost town now. It's very, very sad what it's come to. Mo, you believe that impact is taken away from the team?
Yes, of course, and I don't think we should even give an explanation towards that. I mean, banners were a huge symbol when it came to games. I feel like now every time I watch Juventus, it's like the fans are more commercial than actual Juve fans.
Yeah, that's actually, yeah, it feels that way, right? I actually said, don't be surprised if Agnelli starts to pay people to be organized supporters, which is so wrong. But don't be surprised if at some point you see Agnelli start forking over money to have a paid, organized set of supporters, either in the curva or spread out across the stadium. But I don't know, man. For me, it feels like he's going to head down the way of North American football and have cheerleaders or something like that or whatnot. And I seriously think I could see something like that happening. I hope I'm wrong. Not that there's anything wrong with, the beautiful cheerleaders of the NFL or whatnot, but football's a lot different, and I prefer the football, just that atmosphere, that stadium. It's so much more organic and natural, right? And to take that away and have something where you've paid organized cheerleaders, supporters, or whatnot that are put in the stands to lead chants, it's different. It's not natural. So Omar, your thoughts on this whole thing and how big the impact is on the team?
100%. I will just echo what you guys said. You can feel it. You can feel it from watching at home. You don't need to be at the stadium to understand how dead it is, basically. And you could just go back not too further and see the game against Atletico Madrid, which we won 3-0 back in the last Allegri season. And it was right then when the thing with the curva started, and they said, and we'll leave everything aside and we'll come to support you for that match. And bam, 3-0 in the Champions League. And that's the effect that fans in the stadium who cheer for the club has. It pushes the player forward. If you ever played football in front of fans, even if it's in your local city, you can just immediately feel the atmosphere around everywhere you play when there's fans who support you.
Yeah, it's true. It's one of the many things that needs to be corrected right now. And again, Agnelli's ego probably stepping in the way. So while we sit here and we spent a show and we talked a lot about, Nedved and all this and everything, I think right now what a lot of this is coming down to is Agnelli and his ego. And I'm not so sure it's I'm not so sure he's helping things more than creating bigger issues for the club. He's done a lot of great things. Okay. He's had a tremendous impact and role from this team and where we've gone and whatnot. But there are organizations, and this was brought up earlier in the chat. A lot of credit to whoever did. The chat's been fired, so it's way up there. I can't find it, but they said there are organizations that give you 8 to 10 years, and then they switch to bring in that fresh look and usher forward and whatnot. Maybe, just maybe, it could be time for fresher ideas and whatnot. Or, like I said, for me, if he sticks around, which I have no problem with, head over to the business side of things, let someone come else and run those footballing matters. Mo's got one more thing before we're about to sign off here. Mo, fire away.
It's more of a question. Do you think that the Super League played a part in Allegri and Agnelli's shit decisions?
It's interesting that you bring this up, because I said the only way that we can maybe be happy about this at the end is if he says, hey, everybody, don't worry about this deficit. Don't worry about Allegri. Don't worry about all this, because here you go. Super League is finalized. Here's this massive wave of money. And then we just start buying players and get this awesome roster, whatnot. Maybe he knows something that we don't, and that it's coming and there's going to be this big flux of cash. Maybe. Or flip side is that yet another distraction from what's going on at home and him looking at Super League? I don't know. Omer, Aziz, what do you guys think?
I think it started before that. Like we talked about in the green room, and Agnelli made all the right choices up to some point, and then everything was just wrong. Starting with letting Morata go, letting Marquisio go, appointing Sarri, appointing Pirlo, signing maybe Ronaldo, maybe De Ligt, just moving on from what Juve were and what brought them success. And as the time went by, all of these decisions proved to be wrong. Now, is that related to the Super League? No, it started way before. The Super League didn't do us any favors, although I would like it, and I think it's the right move considering how the football world is operating at the moment. But Agnelli started focusing on that too much, and just picking up fights with whoever is in charge at the moment. And you do that after you start the Super League, not when it's just an idea.
Yeah. Aziz?
For me, I think, yeah, I agree with Omer actually, with especially the point with letting Morata go. I think that was the first mistake. And Morata proved to be right about opposing the Ronaldo signing because it didn't fit our budget, our finances, our long-term plans. Yeah, I think the thing with Agnelli now is that he steered away a lot from like the Juve values. For example, if you have something so good, so historical, you build on that. Like that's the base that you build on. Instead, he like went and wanted to create something new that like he wanted to create value, but in the end he was left with nothing because he didn't believe in that base that he had and the history of the club, the values, all of that. I think that's the first mistake, and the biggest mistake he did is that he said, I will set all of that aside, all the history, all what makes Juve the club it is, from the fans, the the grinta, the atmosphere, like even the logo, everything. And he said, yeah, now I will just follow what Club X and Club Y are doing, and hopefully I will get the same results.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. We've heard the reports of them looking at newer business models, bringing in younger players for more capital gain and whatnot, and not only that, but to integrate and whatnot. So they're starting to realize, I think, that what they're doing isn't working. But Omer, kind of speaking to Agnelli, there was a certain point where the decisions being made were starting to be wrong, and they were, business. I guess you can even call the Ronaldo thing a business signing. Obviously, he helps on the pitch. He scored all his goals. He did his job, but it was a big, big business piece. And Marotta was the only one that's probably saw what was going to come, and the fact that it was going to lead to issues financially, and that it wasn't a sustainable move for Juve. He ended up, obviously, we know what happened there. He ended up going to our rivals, and is what it is. Now, the financials, there are people bringing up the financials saying that it's not as bad as it seems. Because he says a lot of debt owed to the banks has decreased this year. So it's not all bad on the financial side. Club value is up too. So he says the debt of 250 million euros is actually misleading. However, we've seen the other clubs in the same boat, and it's technically not all misleading because it also doesn't incorporate some of these deals that aren't finalized in terms of the money that has to go out, Vlahovic being a big, big one. And the thing is, you see those other clubs that got handcuffed in mercados and whatnot. So I get it. It is a bit misleading, but it's still very, very much something that needs to be resolved. They want to cut that thing in half before this season ends. And honestly, if you don't start filling that stadium up, good friggin' luck. Good friggin' luck. And if you don't start winning win games, get results, god damn it. So a lot of work to be done. It's going to be interesting to see where all the chips land, especially at the end of the season. Nedved, it's funny, many say, yeah, we should move away from Nedved, whatever. Then when the rumors surface and then we're faced with the reality that he might leave, they say, maybe we should keep him. I don't want to see him go. Uno di noi. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Figure this out. I don't think Nedved is the major source of issues for Juventus. I think there's a lot of stuff to clean up. But, man, what a show. A lot of stuff tackled on here. Everybody in the live, you guys are amazing as always, except for you, Joe Cappuccino. Okay, I could do a little bit less with you. Maybe next time we'll kick him out of the chat. I don't know. What do you think, Omer? Should get him out of here?
No, because it means Luca will come back. We always have to deal with one of them.
Joe.
Yeah. Banjo, ban him.
ban him. Mo says ban him. Aziz showing him the heart. Omer says take your pick, Luca or Joe. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Great show. I'm looking forward to doing these with you guys more often. Mo and Aziz, these guys are great. They do fantastic stuff with Juve Canal. I couldn't be happier to partner up with you guys and start to do this monthly, and sometimes even more like this when we have the international break. So I hope all you guys enjoyed the show. Of course, I'll be back keeping you up to date for the rest of the international break with daily update videos. Okay, on Twitter, you got ours main, and of course, Juve Canal bringing you all up to date on everything Juve. I'll be there with the daily updates. We'll get ready. The next match against Bologna, must win. And then Maccabi Haifa after, and Omer will be at that game. And we could probably look forward to some cool footage, I hope, Omer. So till next time, everybody. Fino alla fine. Forza Juve. Ciao tutti. Okay, take care.